I just did a practice test on chapters 5 and 6 for the 1108. Now, I noticed my score seems like I missed some here, and I have one attempt remaining, but I still get 2 bonus points, so I may not want to do that. But what would happen if I checked this test and was giving partial credit? Well, I will show you. So again, it says I have a couple of errors here, and it points out what errors I have. But I could also do a review of this. And I suggest you write these in your homework log, wherever you're keeping your homework here. Now I'm going to do all of the problems here for you. So I'm going to do the correct ones and the incorrect ones. And we'll see the ones that were incorrect. So here we are to figure out the slope. And you could put these values into point slope form, but you could also make a little counting here. This is 10, and then we go up 5, and this is 5, and going in this direction is negative, so this slope of this is a negative 1/2, and I'm using my mouse. I'll switch to my tablet here shortly. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Now, they're also asking me for my y-intercept. Well, my y-intercept right there is on 2. Now, in some programs, the software, they want you to write the y-intercept as 2, which is what I did. But they actually wanted it in its formal form here, 0,2, which is what they're saying here. Now, by doing the practice and the certify, I would have known that, but I haven't done this in a long time. So keep that in mind. Put it in its formal form. Now, I've seen when you put it in its formal form, they count it wrong because they wanted 2. So for something like this, I'd give you probably full credit. So I'm up to the 90s. And then they wanted you to write it in slope intercept. So y equals a negative 1/2, that's just our slope, x, and our y-intercept is 2. Now, for this one, notice we did a class exercise like this one time where we asked you to make a x and y-intercept t-chart. So if x is 0, y is 4. If y is 0, x is 4. And there they are. So the answer to this one is letter D. Let's go on. Oh, went too far here. Let's go back. So this one you can almost do in your head. You're just going to transpose the negative 13 to this side, becomes a positive 13. So V equals 18. Now here we have an ordered pair, and here is the slope. And they want us to put that in to an equation, slope-intercept. So let me do that for you. So slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. And we have our slope, we're saying, is negative 2. Our x value is 4. Our y value is 2. And we just solve for b. Well, this is a negative 8. So we transpose that, becomes 10. Our new b value for this equation is 10. So then we just write it in slope-intercept form. We already had the slope. We just had to find out what our new b value was. And I used the slope-intercept form to do that. Now here they're asking in step by step to build an equation. So let's just do that. Some number minus 19, and they want us to use the letter y. So some number plus is a plus, and then to indicate that this value is negative, we put it in a parenthesis. And I'm going to just write the whole thing. They're going to ask for it in pieces, and then it's the quotient of a number and 25. You had to remember that a quotient is another word for a fraction. Whatever comes first goes on top, and then what's left is on the bottom. So they have 3 questions that deal with this. This is the answer eventually. There's the quotient, and then there's the equation. Now, I'm wondering if I had simplified this, because this is actually y minus 19 equals y over 25, this combination, whether they would have marked it wrong. So again, I'm going to be looking at your blue sheets and giving you partial credit. So I would probably accept that as well. But again, with your recent practice and certify, you should know what they're looking for. Now here, they're giving you a word problem, but they're also giving you the equation. So you're just going to subtract 73 from both sides, and then divide both sides by 6, and it gives you this. So that one was sort of easy. Now here they're asking you to find the missing coordinate. Where this looked a little bit easy, it was a little bit challenging because let's just do it. So it's 6. Now we know our x is a negative 4 minus 3y equals 7. So we substituted our x value into the equation. Now we get a negative 24 minus 3y equals 7. Transpose the negative 24. On this side it becomes a positive. So this is 31 divided by a negative 3y. Well, we're going to divide by negative 3, both sides. And there's our answer. Our missing coordinates, kind of a tricky. Now, in this next one, we're going to put a negative 1 for the y. So we have 6x minus 3, and then our negative 1 here. And we want to find out what our x coordinate will be. So this part becomes a plus 3, negative times negative. We're going to now transpose the positive 3 to the other side, where it becomes a negative 3. So this becomes a 4, or just subtract 3 from both sides. And then when I divide both sides by 6, I get x equals that, or reducing that to 2/3, and that's what we want here. Okay, going on. Now here is an inequality. So what method? You want to try to keep your variables positive. That way you don't have to reverse the inequality sign. So on this side it becomes a 3z plus 1z is 4z. And this on this side becomes a positive 5, and that will give us a 2. And then we divide both sides by 4, and we get z then is greater than 1/2. But reading it this way is a challenge, so I suggest you write it this way. Z, and then reading it, is greater than 1/2. Now, they want this in interval notation, but I'm always going to suggest you make a graph. That helps with everything. So what sign do we put here, a parenthesis or a bracket? Since it's greater only, it's going to be a parenthesis facing this way. You thicken that line, and that's going to positive infinity. So now interval notation comes right from the graph. Parenthesis, 1/2, comma, positive infinity. And that's what we have here. Now, the next one is going to ask us to graph it. So we have to select the set of parentheses, which then goes on the line, drag it until 1/2, and then take this and drag it until you get the ellipsis, which will be the infinity. So I had all of these right so far, too. I'll show you which other one I had incorrect, or I'm going to give myself credit, as you'll see. Let's go on. Now this one is just straight solving an equation. Again, I want to keep my variables positive. So on this side, it's positive 6u. So this will be 4u. This side, I subtract or add a 5, I get a 0. Oh. So divide both sides by 4, I get u equals 0. So just one solution, it's conditional, and there's my answer. So hopefully that was an easy one here. Here we're asked to combine like terms. This is 3t. This is a negative 18. Divide both sides by 3. T equals a negative 6. Now, in this example, it's asking us to write the equation of this line in point-slope form. So again, 2y's with a negative between it, 2x's with a negative between it, and the m on this side. So the first thing we might do is figure out what's the slope. So we can make a big one here or a little one here. I think we can go over 4, up 3. So our slope is going to be 3/4. Now, what is our y-intercept? Our y-intercept here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our y-intercept, let's put it over here, is 0, 6. So they're going to ask us to put it in, this point slope form. So this is going to be an x, and what's our y value? Well, our y value is going to be a negative 6. It looks like that. Oh, I see where I did make an error here. And then our x is going to be like so. All right, because our y-intercept is 0, 6. I got these points switched around. All right, well, it could happen to anybody. All right, so I got the slope correct anyway, so I'd give myself partial credit. So let's go on and see what they want for an answer. So this is in point slope form. Now, again, there's a number of other points you could have picked along this line. You could have picked this point here. For instance, this one is going to be negative 4 for our x, and then a 3. So putting it in this form, that might be a better choice. It'll be y minus 3 equals 3/4 x. Now minus a minus 4 makes it a plus 4. So that would have been another one here. All right, well, just goes to show you. Well, hopefully this is helpful. And again, it's always important to check your work. And we'll keep it to under 20 minutes.